Innovation and Design Thinking. IDT VTU Module-1 Theory and Practice in Design Thinking. Case Study. The coevolution of theory and practice in design thinking, or mind the oddness trap. Theory and practice in design thinking. Both the theory and practice go hand in hand in design thinking as they are closely interconnected. The theory provides as a blueprint in guiding the organizations in general, design teams in particular during the design phase. As there is a close interrelation between theory and practice, there is a need for design thinking research. The objective of design thinking research is: design thinking research provide help in testing and refining theory of design thinking. Study of Julia von Thienen and his colleagues presents the testing of two basic and important concepts of design thinking. Multidisciplinary teams produce more innovative design solutions than monodisciplinary teams. Teams that are trained in design thinking by the design schools produce better innovative solutions compared to the untrained teams. Design thinking research poses the following questions. How should design teams approach the design challenges? What do the school students need to learn to handle design challenges successfully? Design thinking research aims to answer these questions. Design thinking is successfully applied by multiple big organizations like P&G, SAP, GE Healthcare, and IDEO. Design thinking looks as state-of-the-art present and future innovation method. But till now these schools understand little about what actually makes it to be successful. There are several questions or remains unanswered. Hence, it demands empirical analysis of basic assumptions of design thinking with the experimental tests. There are numerous design thinking aspects that demands a systematic scientific investigation. Selecting the issues depends on personal interests. Research should take into the interests of people working in design field. Von Thienen, Noisky, Meinl, and Roth made first empirical research objective to know in detail about the hopes, worries, and interests of experts in design field. The term design thinking have a common set of practices and a common theoretical matrix as per the experts' understandings. Now the task of testing of these empirically central assumptions. Design thinking, what is the experts' understanding? Von Thienen discussed with the design experts during the winter of 2009 and conducted a series of guideline interviews of about 90 minutes each. Experts include the members of IDEO, design consultants of Procter & Gamble and Palm, the design services members of SAP, as well as members of the staff and teachers of the design schools in Stanford and Potsdam. The interviews mainly focused on the following major issues: the definition and understanding of design thinking, the process and its methods, prototypical conflicts in design thinking projects, the work environment and tools, successful team orchestration and its specific needs. Major insights were synthesized using with storytelling and techniques within the project team. Research papers published on each of these topics. Key insights are: design thinking research had a variety of understandings across the experts in the field. The interviewees did not convey any common understanding of design thinking. Experts specified varied process models and differing methods of the design process. Example: there are opposite thinking regarding the question whether design work ought to be outsourced or not. Some experts say design teams should work outside of routine business contexts. They argue that creative freedom should to be maximized, hence design ideas should be outsourced. Some experts prefer to have integrative approaches wherein managers make the teams with the employees from various departments. one single team dedicated for a project from the beginning to the ending stage. Different departments are made responsible for different stages during the design process, from idea generation to final implementation. Representatives from all departments to be joined with the responsible design team from the starting to ending, but at different stages based on the expertise of the department. Another conflicting opinion is some experts highlighting the importance of individual genius. Others think that individual genius is not that important in the success of a design project. Rather, design team should have combination of matching characters and competences. However, the experts did not differ in the concrete approaches that they preferred. Experts explained their understanding design thinking in different scales and also reflected with differing academic discourses. There is no common set of beliefs till today that are associated with design thinking. Instead, there are different lines of debates and different practices. However, there are some commonalities that makes design thinking can be studied as a collective. Major focus is on user needs, and the aim of innovation is a shared concern. Design teams should not aim only for quantitative improvements. Example, devising a memory stick with more storage capacity, but also aim for qualitative improvements means devising a completely new technologies that have greater potential or developing solutions that make memory sticks superfluous altogether. Design teams should reconsider the initial design challenges that is called reframing. They should understand what the user's true needs, then they should apply a variety of approaches, including uncommon and wild ideas. Another consideration is that the design thinkers pose the academic diversity of design teams. Generally, multidisciplinary to be considered as a better choice. If teams are academically diversified, they will integrate influences in different domains leads to innovation. Another factor to be considered is team performance and positive communication culture. Final conclusion is that the experts brought out some number of commonalities in design thinking. But they could not make a common theoretical concept matrix that could explain the term design thinking, which leads to design thinking research. Concepts in developing the theory. Generally, all the theories are considered as systems of axioms. 1. There are some fundamental propositions on which everything regarding the field of interest to be deduced. When we refer to the theory, it is set of axioms, and accepting a theory is to accepting the axioms. Is design thinking a theory, or it should be built on a theory? Now, where are its axioms? From the expert views, there is no common propositions that design thinkers can accept in considering their expertise. However, some shared convictions by the experts may be used in developing the axioms. But these convictions are not covering the complete domain of interest. These convictions are multidisciplinarity, usability, unusualness. Experts sometimes disagree as to how important each issue is in differing project phases. But they regularly monitor and also discuss them. Now the question is how to build a classical theory and structure for design thinking. It in an early stage of development and managing to produce axiomatic system. Von Thienen found some analogy between musicology and design thinking. Both musicology and design thinking aims for something productive and creative. Musicologists examine the bits of music and their composition in the same way design thinkers examine the different solutions and their outcome. When we look at pop songs, in these songs the music theory provides a dual function. First, it describes the song. Secondly, during working out and comparing the song patterns, music theory serves a blueprint that shows how songs could be composed successfully. Typically, is an intro, next strophes, and finally chorus alternate. Still, the scheme is not sufficient for a song. Individual musicians should to fill in the blanks. Inexperienced person may follow strictly the rules and give their blueprint, composed song. But the experts may give masterpieces by breaking such rules. Sometimes, they may establish completely new patterns which other musicians follow successfully in the future. An experienced design thinker identifies the circumstances where unconventional methods seem to be more encouraging than the standard methods. They move out of the common procedures and break the rules. This is quite interesting for design thinking. Such a breaking of the rules should not be damaged. It is a precious one. Sometimes it may fail. But if doesn't fail, the design thinking theory presents an alternative method which is to be explored in the future. The similarities between design thinking and musicology highlighting two key issues that one need to keep in one's mind to avoid employing towards an inadequate theory. In both the cases, design thinking and musicology, the gaps are being filled. Since the theories provide blueprints for the practitioners, any change in theory is most likely to change the practice also. Hence, the theory and practice are co-evolving. Now the question is whether or not the theory of design thinking is true does not function in a traditional way. In many aspects, design thinking theory may be true for insignificant reasons, as it provides as a scheme that practitioners supposed to be proceed. Theory of design thinking also provide a dual function. First, it helps in describing and analyzing the design projects, such as reframing the problem and what and when the teams should do to ensure the usability of the product. Design process models bring the standards to in which phases there are in and what order they should be, and also encompass the methods that are prescribed. When design team coordinate its design project, it may use the schemes. But surely there are some blanks that should be filled. Such as, we are in the research phase. What are the methods we have in our hands? What shall we choose? How shall we proceed further? Specifying the hypotheses. As we know, no written out axioms in design thinking which specifies the important assumptions. The researcher's main goal is writing down important or key beliefs in this field. From the expert's opinion and also in general, it is hypothesized that design thinking encourages innovation. Design thinking supposed to be the state-of-the-art innovation method. This brings out the first hypothesis that people-trained design schools should produce large number of innovative solutions than untrained design thinkers. Various institutes that offer design thinking education such as Potsdam University in Germany and Stanford University in USA in their design or D schools. Hence, first hypothesis formulated more refined way as D school-trained teams produce more innovative solutions than teams without this training. Next assumption or belief of the experts is that multidisciplinarity in the teams enhances the innovation. Hence, second hypothesis is that multidisciplinary teams produce more innovative solutions than monodisciplinary teams. These two hypotheses, one is D school training and other multidisciplinarity, are reasonably starting points, but they are a need for further refinement. Particularly as innovation is an abstract notion that it is so remote from possible measurement operations. Hence, it is a good idea to break the abstract concepts down into diverse factors which may be assessed easily. This can be written as a design solution S1 is considered more innovative than a solution S2 if and only if S1 is more unusual, at the same time more useful than S2. With this clarification regarding innovation, both the hypotheses are divided into two more distinct claims. Now there are 4 hypotheses or assumptions which are to be tested by research are 1. School-trained teams produce more unusual solutions than teams without this training. 2. School-trained teams produce more useful solutions than teams without this training. 3. Multidisciplinary teams produce more unusual solutions than monodisciplinary teams. 4. Multidisciplinary teams produce more useful solutions than monodisciplinary teams. There are many reasons to support that multidisciplinary teams will produce more innovative solutions than monodisciplinary teams, but there is at least one significant reason to believe in opposite way. Experts trained in the very same way of analyze and approach a subject matter are inclined to invoke the same strategies that they are all used to when working with a new problem. Whatever the work strategies are being used, altogether they inclined towards a particular type of result and detracting from opinions of others. Imagine a team of classical philologists and a team of chemists who are to analyzing a painting. During analysis, the chemists might take small samples of the paint to find out the material components that have been used. For the same painting, philologists might describe a scene from Greek mythology and work for reason backwards to the perfect literary sources that the painter had exposed. As having specialized knowledge and also training of the experts, there is no way that the philologists could influence on the work results that chemists get and vice versa. Limiting oneself in a fixed set of common work strategies generally means limiting him/herself to specific types of common results. Multidisciplinary team strategy is that members of the team are familiar which are likely to vary. Team members reconsider the approaches which they find convenient. They will be detaching themselves from the routine practices such as merging, melding, blending the approaches they know in a path that seems to be appropriate in the light of the current challenge. The broader the domain of approaches, the experts are willing to consider results in obtaining the results of broader domain. As different approaches are tested, increases the odds that causing unusual results. Therefore, multidisciplinary teams can present greater unusual results when compared to monodisciplinary teams. Another dimension of innovation is usefulness, and the hypotheses are multidisciplinarity may be advantageous in producing the products that are useful. As we know that the development of useful solution depends on the knowledge. The knowledge regarding the situation of the users and or knowledge regarding the technical options that realizing from a particular idea. Assume experts are equally trained and all trained in the same domain, then the knowledge that their team adapt of is much limited when compared to that the knowledge of a team where the members are different in their domains of expertise. This discussion supports that multidisciplinary teams produce more solutions. But this may not be true in all the situation. Discussion supports the notion that multidisciplinary teams produce less solutions than monodisciplinary teams is presented in the next slide. Another dimension of innovation is usefulness, and the hypotheses are multidisciplinarity may be advantageous in producing the products that are useful. As we know that the development of useful solution depends on the knowledge. The knowledge regarding the situation of the users and or knowledge regarding the technical options that realizing from a particular idea. Assume experts are equally trained and all trained in the same domain, then the knowledge that their team adapt of is much limited when compared to that the knowledge of a team where the members are different in their domains of expertise. This discussion supports that multidisciplinary teams produce more solutions. But this may not be true in all the situation. Discussion supports the notion that multidisciplinary teams produce less solutions than monodisciplinary teams is presented in the next slide. Even though multidisciplinary teams have higher potential than monodisciplinary teams for innovation, the main challenging problem may be lack of communication problems within the team members. As the members of the team from different academic backgrounds and trained to apply different strategies and concepts to solve a problem, the vocabulary or terms they may use different, sorting of things into different categories may also differ, and the conclusions or inferences associated with the one or another categorization also differ. If the team members are not able to work on a common conceptual field, they are unable to make proper use of their wide-ranging expertise. This leads to the next hypothesis regarding communication, that is, multidisciplinary team members experience greater communication problems than monodisciplinary team members. The next discussion in regard to the successful communication among team members who trained in D-School. D-School trained members are assumed to APT for design work. They should tackle the potential communication challenges in either the cases working in multidisciplinary team or monodisciplinary team. Considering this, the final hypothesis is D-School trained team members experience less communication problems than teams without D-School training. In summary, the hypotheses to be tested in the study are: 1. D-School trained teams produce more unusual solutions than teams without this training. 2. D-School trained teams produce more useful solutions than teams without this training. 3. Multidisciplinary teams produce more unusual solutions than monodisciplinary teams. 4. Multidisciplinary teams produce more useful solutions than monodisciplinary teams. 5. Multidisciplinary team members experience greater communication problems than monodisciplinary team members. D-School trained team members experience less communication problems than teams without D-School training. Need of experiments. All the hypotheses are to be tested by investigating. There are 2 alternatives are available for investigations, either experimental or non-experimental. Both the methods are having their advantages and limitations. The experimental methods generally planned to suppress all the factors which may be potentially relevant to outcome except for factors whose influence is to be studied. These factors are stated in the hypotheses. The advantage of this approach is the causal relationship between the factors considered in the study will be clearer. The disadvantage of this approach is one doesn't find out anything about the other factors which are not stated in the hypotheses, as they are suppressed in the experimental setting. On other hand, non-experimental studies may explore all the dimensions of real-life situations and their influences on the outcome. Some of the factor even experiment may not think of that influence the outcome. But non-experimental methods consume more time and effort as to explore all the situations, and some of them may not have any significant relation with the outcome. To test only the stated hypothesis, experimental method is more appropriate. The challenges faced by authors in the selection of the sample. In this study, real challenge is concerning that all the subjects in the study are about equally unfamiliar or familiar with the problem. If it is not so, some teams may dispose over greater knowledge in the subject right from the beginning, as the team members are experts. At the same time, other teams' team members may laymen. Whether or not teams may benefit from the knowledge of the experts, or even one may consider experts may act as censors and a threat for innovation. The teams with experts versus without experts could not be working in comparable conditions. For example, at the end, the solutions presented by the teams differ in their quality. These differences may not be attributing the factors monodisciplinarity versus multidisciplinarity, or no D-School training versus D-School, or expert knowledge versus without such knowledge. Another challenge could be the problem space is to be open enough so that The team could come with different possible social or technical solution or political or an artistic or any another type of solution. To satisfy this need, there should be the people of having the knowledge in diverse fields. If the teams having the members with one distinct academic training to solve the problem, this could probably prevent the success of design thinking from the beginning itself. To satisfy the above challenges, the participants were chosen according. Out of the 40 participants, students, 39 students indicated that they are not having any experience in the subject matter, trauma, or the practitioners. Only one participant had encountered this subject matter during his university studies. The challenges in the selection of the measurement. Next challenge is how to assess or measure the attributes. Every team presents its suggestions, how to support traumatized people. What is the reliable measure for estimating the unusualness of particular solution? In this study, the factors considered are abstract nature, hence the procedure for measurement is quite different. Operationalization is the crucial step. In this study, there are 5 factors to understand the theory of design thinking. They are: 1. The school training. 2. Academic diversity. 3. The unusualness of design solutions. 4. The usefulness of design solutions. And 5. Communication problems. Factors 1 and 2 can be measured directly, but the factors 3 to 5 are abstractive nature. Considering the factor 3. What is unusual? While the unusualness of a design solution is abstractive nature and can be measured by counting the replies for a pertinent question, it is reasonable to consider the following to understand this. In this context of the experiment, when a group presents an unusual solution and if the other teams, who have also worked for the same task, failed to consider a particular possibility while discussing the options. During the experiment, all the team has to present their solution and all the participants needs to fill a questionnaire containing the following question, which is regarding each single presentation of the other groups. See the figure for question or item number 1. Item 1 has the presented solution being discussed in your group as well. Options are: yes, exactly in this form, 1. Yes, in about that way, 2. More or less, 3. No, but that may have been a coincidence, 4. No, we would never have hit on it, 5. Statistical values obtained range from 1 to 5, greater number indicates greater unusualness. Another question framed to measure unusualness of the solution and asking this question to the experts in this field, trauma therapists, and the question is, see the figure. Question number 2. Item 2. Have you ever considered this option for helping before? Yes, exactly in this form, 1. Yes, in about that way, 2. More or less, 3. No, but that may have been a coincidence, 4. No, I would never have hit on it, 5. Statistical values obtained range from 1 to 5, greater number indicated greater unusualness. Considering the factor 4, what is useful? Usefulness of the product is decided by the users. In this study, users are therapists or traumatized people. To assess the usefulness, the question asked is, see the item 3, item 3. What do you think? How helpful is this approach for the target group? Very helpful, 5. Quite helpful, 4. Somewhat helpful, 3. Barely helpful, 2. Not helpful. Statistical values obtained range from 1 to 5, greater number indicates greater unusualness. A second estimate for a factor is advantageous in most of the times. It reinforces the factor of consideration. Another question for the same factor usefulness is, see the item 4. Item 4. Which approaches should be realized by all means? Please mark up to 5 approaches. Marked 1. Not marked 0. Values ranges 0 to 1. 1 indicates the usefulness. Considering the factor 5, how to assess the communication problems? Here the communication problems are within the team, among the team members. 3 questions are asked to the participants to assess the communication problems. See the items 5, 6 and 7. Item 5. Was it easy or difficult for your group to reach an agreement? Very easy, 1. Easy, 2. Neither nor, 3. Difficult, 4. Very difficult, 5. Item 6. Have there been group decisions that you felt uncomfortable with? Not at all, 1. Very few, 2. Some, 3. Several, 4. Plenty, 5. Item 7. Have there been communication problems in your team? Not ever, 1. Rarely, 2. Sometimes, 3. Often, 4. Very often, 5. Statistical values obtained for all the 3 questions ranges from 1 to 5. Greater number indicates more communication problems. See the table, which summarize the variables of interest in the experiment. In this study, variations or independent variables are team setup, the school training and academic diversity. Outcomes or dependent variables are unusualness of solution, usefulness of solution and communication problems. Total 7 items were answered by the teams and the experts. Under innovation, first component of innovation is unusualness of solution comprises 2 items or questions. Item 1 for teams and item 2 for the experts. Second component of innovation is usefulness of solution comprises 2 items or questions. Both the items 3 and 4 for the experts. For communications problems, items 5, 6 and 7 for the teams to choose the options. Conduction of experiments. Span of the experiment was 5 full days like a workshop and conducted at the D School Potsdam campus. Every day experiments started from 9:30 a.m. and went up to late midnights on some of the days. Name for both the project and also the experiment announced as Workshop on Trauma. Participants were given complete information about trauma and their task is developing some helpful approach. Subjects or participants in the study were 40 students, 25 women and 15 men. Background of half of the participants is technical, software systems engineering and the rest of other participants varied as business studies, sports, languages and others. Students' average age is 22.71 years and studied in the 4.82 semester. 50% of the students had been trained by the D School and rest of them were not has such training. Students assigned into the multidisciplinary versus mono team randomly and both the types has the same number of teams and size of each team is 4 members in all the 4 conditions. 1. D School trained, multidisciplinary. 2. D School trained, monodisciplinary. 3. Not D School trained, multidisciplinary. 4. Not D School trained, monodisciplinary. Because of illnesses, there were small changes in the participants' number on some of the days. See the figure. Figure shows total 12 teams in this experiment. D School trained multidisciplinary 3 teams. D School trained monodisciplinary 3 teams. Multidisciplinary without D School training 3 teams. Monodisciplinary without D School training 3 teams. Every day multiple observations were made, some of them not even specified in the experiment. The students filled the questionnaires on diverse issues including their satisfaction, their plan and how they spent their time, etc. Photos were taken at all the workspaces, and a random sample of teams was filmed throughout the week during the experiment at the D school. The final presentations, about 10 minutes of all teams, were video recorded, and the presentations, video recordings and written summaries of the design solutions were made available online. A lecture was given to therapists and clients, and the materials are also presented as therapists and clients has to evaluate the design solutions. Such lecture is not given for the students. Results of this study are presented in the next slides. Results regarding unusualness. D school teams got higher score than non-D school teams matches with the hypothesis. This finding is consistent for both team members and the experts. The students, team members, themselves rated by D school teams solutions 4.06 on average, solutions by non-D school teams 3.65. Experts rated D school teams with a score of 2.80 and untrained teams 2.54. Experts gave lower score than the students. This is because experts have domain knowledge and potential helpful interventions completely than the team members. However, data consistently supports D school teams in the aspect of unusualness. Results regarding usefulness. All the teams performed very well, and all the experimental conditions the average score as above 3, indicating the solutions are somewhat helpful. See the table. From the table it can be noted that the data fail to support the superiority of D school solutions in the aspect of usefulness. Non-D school teams were better, 4.33, performed than their counterparts, 4.25. Considering the performance of mono versus multidisciplinary team condition. From the table, it can be noted that among all the teams, multidisciplinary D school trained teams perform worst, 3.17, and monodisciplinary not D school trained teams perform best, 4.33. Monodisciplinary teams perform better than multidisciplinary teams, and it is consistent for both in the not D school trained and D school trained conditions. Interesting question is there any correlation between usefulness and unusualness? When a solution is rather unusual, then the solution is useful? Or when a solution is usual, then the solution is useful? Or vice versa, useful solutions or unusual? Useful solutions or usual? Statistical analysis shows the correlation between these two factors is highly significant and negative, 0.547. Results regarding communication problems. See the table. There is consistent variation between untrained teams versus D school trained teams. See the table. It can be noted from the items 5, 6 and 7 untrained teams experienced more communication problems compared to with D school training teams. This result is consistent for both multidisciplinary and monodisciplinary teams. All 6 comparisons show less communication problems in D school teams. Discussion. For the communication problems. The findings of this study almost match with prior expectations of the authors, and no difference between multidisciplinary versus mono teams has been found. D school teams report less difficulties than untrained teams. Is D school training improve communication skills and communication problems can be handled easily? Or D school trained members knew each other as they studied together at the D school, and this closeness yields for reduced communication problems? Alternative explanation. It may be the case for untrained participants also, they had known each other in advance as well. For example, most monodisciplinary teams comprised students of software systems engineering who knew each other from regular courses. This discussion shows that There is some reason to assume that D-School training helps people to develop effective communication strategies. Whether the training does indeed have a causal effect in that regard, and what elements of the D-School experience most powerfully enhance communication skills, are issues that would have to be addressed by further studies. Second issue is innovation. Why were D-School teams, and multidisciplinary D-School teams in particular, outperformed by teams with no D-School experience? Possible explanation is the available time for the task, which is small in this experiment. In a design thinking process, teams are encouraged to explore the problem space copiously before actually deciding on one particular solution. Indeed, this is what these school teams did in the experiment. Untrained teams, on the other hand, were much quicker to decide. Quite a few of them selected their approach on the first day of the workshop. This left them with a lot more time for developing and refining a prototype. This discussion draws a conclusion: these school teams would have performed much better if they had a few more days to work on the project. Another explanation for the superiority of non-D-School teams is that the experts did not rate the prototypes presented by the teams. What the experts did rate were the ideas teams had come up with. If the suggestions were to be carried out, how helpful would they be? These school teams spent a lot of time selecting their idea, so the process of evaluation applied in the experiment should not work to their disadvantage. Another issue is the strong negative correlation between usefulness and unusualness. Wild ideas are encouraged in the D-School training. But there certainly is a danger of what may be called an oddness trap. When much effort is put into devising a solution that others will find surprising, solutions may be surpassed that are rather self-evident and yet highly effective. Indeed, these likely solutions may be the most effective ones in some circumstances. A go-for-the-wild approach might be more productive in circumstances when basically all likely solutions have already been explored and something else is wanted. In this experiment, this was obviously not the case. In all conditions, the average expert rating of unusualness falls between 2 and 3, and the experts state they have already considered the solutions presented by the teams. In general, awareness of the oddness trap, knowing that there may be a trade-off between unusualness and usefulness, is only a first step. What one ought to strive for are the means, strategies, and potentially even techniques for avoiding the oddness trap. Falling in love with funny ideas must not deflect designers from the user's true needs. Thanks for watching. Comment for any suggestions. Like, share and subscribe for more videos.